I went through more investigations than Alphonse Capone, and now I'm talking to you as president. Can you believe this? I must tell you, a lot of trophy wives. Doesn't work out. They subjected the armed forces to all manner of social projects and political causes while leaving our borders undefended and depleting our arsenals to fight other countries' wars. The job of the U.S. Armed Forces is not to host drag shows. We will not have men playing in women's sports, if that's okay.
Bobby Jones here, filling in for Ken Harbaugh this week on MeidasTouch Network and a Valor Media Network. The clip you just saw showed President Donald Trump giving the commencement address at the United States Military Academy at West Point. It's amongst one of the most important speeches he gives every year. The president usually speaks at a United States Service Academy, a private university, and a public university every year. He rotates amongst the 5 service academies when giving his speech. And the whole point of speaking to the next generation is to inspire them to do great things on behalf of the country and the world. However, when the president of the United States speaks at a service academy, it's different. Because not only is he inspiring these new officers in the United States military to go and do great things, he has to motivate them to focus on doing the hard things to keep America and its allies safe. Now, this hits a personal core with me because I graduated from the United States Naval Academy at Annapolis, the rival school to West Point. And I was very lucky to have President Bush be our commencement speaker when we graduated in 2001. Now, what President Bush told us was he didn't know what the future held, but he knew that we were not only up for the task, but he as the commander in chief would make sure that we had the tools that we needed to do whatever we had to do. The speech was not about him. Well, without him knowing it, he was basically a soothsayer because 109 days after we graduated, 9/11 happened. And my classmates and those at West Point and Air Force Academy and other service academies, as well as just military in general, embarked on the longest war America has ever fought. At no point during my entire 22 plus year career did I think about President Bush's speech about how he was doing these things for us. I thought about how he charged us to do greater things for the country. Okay. And when I look at the West Point cadets that had just gotten commissioned sitting there listening to this political, narcissistic diatribe, I remember being in the same exact seat. And I could only imagine the disappointment after going through 4 very rigorous years where you don't have the college experience at West Point. You don't get that at Annapolis. You don't get that at those type of schools. You go through hard things so you're able to do hard things on behalf of the country when called upon. For them to sit there and listen to this man talk about things like big yachts and trophy wives and how everybody came after him and how he's persecuted as a president of the United States blew my mind. And if you look at the clips where they pan out to show the cadets sitting there waiting to get their diplomas, their facial expressions kind of said it all. They're like, what are we listening to? You know, some people are trying to explain this away as Donald Trump is at the beginning stages of dementia, and that may be true. But somebody somewhere should have made sure he was focused on the individuals, the people and what they may be charged to do. No one knew in 2001 when we were sitting there that we were going to go fight the nation's longest war. But what President Bush knew to tell us, though, was that we would be ready for it. They would have the support of the president and the nation. At no point did he mention anything about him individually. President Obama did not mention it. President Biden did not mention it. As a matter of fact, no president that has stood before a service academy graduation class has ever said the things that he said. Never mind the politicalization of his speech just by showing up wearing that big red hat. Never mind the fact that he could not be bothered to shake the hands of every graduate that crossed that stage. As a matter of fact, he rushed off so he could basically go play golf. When you think of the long gray line at West Point, the long blue line of Annapolis, these institutions that have been there, West Point over 200 years, Annapolis 175 years, these institutions, when you think about what those graduates have done in some of the most fierce fighting in humankind history, going against fascism, going against terrorism, all of these things, and the current president could not be bothered to shake their hand for the sacrifice that they were giving. I don't know why or how you can spin this as nothing less than disrespect to people who have signed up to give their lives, if need be, for this country. Now, granted, I have seen on social media these people who are like, oh, you guys shouldn't take it so sensitive, blah, blah, blah. But I know for a fact if Biden would have done that, they would have grilled him, because they did for slight gestures, looking at his watch, etc. He got lit up like a Christmas tree. So I'm asking those who are part of the MAGA land, those who support Trump, have the same rational thought process about the actions that conveys. We have watched now, since President Trump has started his second term in office, the systemic degradation and ripping apart of the Department of Defense. From Pete Hegseth and his scandals, to the statements that Trump has made, to the accepting of a Qatari plane that he's now forcing the Air Force to take and retrofit. All of these things for the active duty force shows they're not serious about support. They're serious about image. But even this past weekend, he didn't have enough guts to sit there and just shake the hands of America's most precious resource, our youth who are willing to go fight and stand up for us. I got problems with that. And those of you trying to defend him, shame on you. I've seen a lot of political talking heads talk about this West Point speech, but the reality of it is very few of them have sat in that seat where they're the ones who said, I'll go, and the president is directly addressing them. Well, I have. And I'm telling you right now, the message that he gave, when compared to the mission that they have to execute, are on completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And for the President of the United States of America to bitch about his personal grievances to not only the cadets, but the families who may have to pay the ultimate sacrifice, who this speech and this graduation is one of the highlights of their lives, to turn it about him, is not only breaking tons of tradition, but it lets you know that the person at the top of the chain of command doesn't give a damn about you.
New Meidas merch drop. Check out the latest pro-democracy sticker packs, t-shirts, hats, sweatshirts, and more. All at store.MeidasTouch.com.